Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, it's Kelly, and I am back with another episode of Start Before You're Ready. My guest today is Frank Pucher, and I am already fired up just from having a little pre-conversation with him. He is a coach, and he has been a coach for several decades. He loves to challenge people and bring out the best in people. I have seen him do it with countless people that I truly admire. And he has been someone that has been a great resource for myself as a business owner and as a fitness professional. He's been in the game for a long time. And those are the people I like and that I respect the most. He started off as a trainer, and he has become a coach to other trainers. He's great at what he does. You're going to love hearing from him. He is also a published author. He wrote a book called Smart Money Moves, which I actually have had the good fortune of listening to his talk about that book, and it's incredibly insightful. We're going to get to a little bit about that, but we have lots to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and let Frank introduce himself to our Start Before You're Ready community.
Kelly, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. Whether it was just a conversation between you and I or you and your audience, it's always time well spent. And I could not help but pick up on when you said he's been in the game a long time. That's code for old.
No, it's not. We're the same age, Frank. I don't call myself old. I don't call you old.
You covered a lot of good broad strokes. I've been primarily in the fitness space since 1992. So 30 some odd years, obviously taking the path of fitness trainer, personal trainer, studio owner, and evolving into coaching other studio owners and continuing to grow and evolve into working with not only fitness studio owners on building better businesses, but really living better lives outside of the entrepreneurial space. And that's really the space that I'm playing and working in right now and having a lot of enjoyment. So, like I said, excited to spend some time with you today and looking forward to seeing where this conversation takes us.
I love it. Well, one thing I did not mention about you, and I have to say I am genuinely impressed with your athleticism. You are still competing very strongly as a runner and as a triathlete. I'm always interested in longevity, Frank. I'm always interested because there's some people that run competitively in their 50s, but usually they didn't start when they were in school. They didn't start when they were younger because your body usually only gets so many miles. That's a personal thought. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny. I get this a lot. A lot of people will ask me, like, how do you still compete at the level that you're competing at? And the secret is there really is no secret. I've had a lot of good luck. I've never really sustained any serious injuries. But if I could bullet point a couple of things that I think that have worked to my advantage is I've never really allowed myself to get out of shape over the last number of years. I mean, I was a very competitive high school athlete, a college track athlete, going into 5Ks and marathons and dabbling in triathlons in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and now even in my 50s. So I've always kept myself active. I've always had something that I was sort of training for. It wasn't always a marathon or always a triathlon. I instinctively train, meaning that if I want to get away from triathlons, I've gone years without being in the pool. But then I start to miss it. So I get back in. And the reason why I think that has served me well is I haven't burnt out on anything. I really listen to my body. But I think the other thing is, again, good fortune favors those that experience it. But I have taken care of myself, not really gained a lot of weight. I enjoy cocktails, but never to excess. I enjoy good food, but I am mindful of what I eat without being on a strict diet. Over the last number of years, I've really paid attention to sleep and recovery. So I just do a lot of the boring, unsexy things. And I think that aggregation of marginal gains is just work to my advantage. still athletically. And as you said, still competing at a very high level, not just within my age group, but still overall. And I'm very blessed and feel fortunate for that. Yeah.
Do you compare yourself to your younger self ever, or is it just where you are right now?
Um, no, I comedically I do because I still speak to a lot of my college track buddies and we speak about our workouts today and we say like I felt really great about my workout today, but it was our warm-up pace 30 years ago. So no, I can't do what I did at least consistently 30 something years ago, but no, I really focus on enjoying the moment right now. The past was great. And again, there's a great quote. A lot of people use it, but there comes a point in your life when your memories exceed your dreams. And my memories have been great, but my dreams are greater still. And my dreams are just to go out and enjoy each day and always have something in front of me that I'm looking forward to.
That's a really, really good piece of advice. And I like that you said you're always training for something and it's not always the same thing, but there's something on the horizon. I think that's really important. It keeps you in the game.
I think you always need something that is taking you outside your
Mm,
comfort zone. But here's the good thing is you get to choose what that is. You get to choose what that is. So it's like I'm not somebody that's like every year I run a marathon or every year I do. It's like, no, like what is what is calling me and what do I want to invest some time and energy in this year? And then, and this will probably come up in our conversation today, but how do you become a student of that thing? Like, how do you compete, set a benchmark, and then sit back and with humility say, all right, what went well? Where can I do better? And what are the little things that are within my control that I could work towards? And I think just by always remaining a student of the thing that you're chasing, I think that has an ancillary benefit both in sport and in life.
what are you training for right now?
I have got a triathlon coming up in about a week and a half. It's a Mission Bay Triathlon. Little backstory. It is the one of the oldest triathlons in the country at the birthplace of triathlon out here in San Diego. And the race is actually the California / Western State Championship. So in each age group, the top 5 finishers will qualify for the national meet next year, but the winner is crowned the state champion. That is something that is on my mind. Well, I am not I am in no way the favorite for that, but I'm looking forward to the competition a week from Sunday.
That is amazing. Wow, that is amazing. So you mentioned that maybe we did not mention that you currently live in San Diego and you love to talk about the sunshine there. But you're originally a Jersey guy.
I am originally a Jersey guy, and I don't know if your people on camera can see, but I've got my New Jersey coffee mug with some water in it. And I've always got this around.
Gotta remember where you're from.
Don't forget where you came from.
That's right. That's right. I was just visiting my daughter's college up in New York, and there weren't as many New Jersey people as I thought. And I said something jokingly to my husband. I'm like, I'd be perfectly fine if Lynn's ended up meeting a New Jersey guy. And he was like, not sure about that.
Listen, the thing with Jersey guys is there's no ambiguity. So that's what we like. That's what we like.
That's what I like. That's what I like, Frank. That's what I like about you. Authenticity. You are who you are. Those are the people that I do. I'm from New York, buddy. I get it. Those are the people I do best with. I like a straight shooter. Those are my people. So let's go back to New Jersey for a minute. So is that where you began as a fitness trainer?
Yeah, I graduated college at East Stroudsburg University, and I think like most people graduating college, you're not really sure what you want to do. It was 1992, and I had the idea in the back of my mind to attend law school, but I really wanted to buy some time before I recommitted to that. So I got myself a job as a fitness instructor at a pretty upscale fitness club. And that just evolved customer service into personal training. And that led to working at another personal training studio. And that led to me leaving that studio and freelancing and training people in my car. If you're familiar with New Jersey, I was driving a black Honda Civic with roll down windows. And I had a big green physio ball in my rear view mirror. And I was going in and out of people's homes. And I got this crazy idea that I should open up my own place and just have everybody come to me. So I sat in a New Jersey diner and I did some napkin math and I realized like, hey, if I make this much money. I could pay the rent and keep the lights on. And with a lot of luck, that's exactly what happened. A client knew of a space that was available. I signed a lease, did a slight renovation, and over the next 2 to 3 years, I hired my first part-time employee, then a full-time employee, then another part-time employee. And before I knew it, 10 years had elapsed and we were getting ready to outgrow that space and the lease wasn't going to be renewed. So I said, this is perfect timing. We've grown and staying isn't an option. So took out a $300,000 SBA loan, relocated we went from a 2,200 square foot studio to the next town over. It was only 2 miles to a nearly 5,000 square foot studio in a Class A office building, completely renovated that studio. It was beautiful, brand new equipment, brand new dumbbells, brand new towel, everything was brand new. And literally, like the day we put the key in the door to open up, that was the beginning of the housing market crash and Lehman Brothers bankruptcy. And it was like the world turned upside down the day that we opened. So we had 1 or 2 rough years. And looking back, it was an inflection point, but it was a great lesson for me because it exposed me for not having a business plan, number one, something I was able to grow 10 years in a row without having. And two, my informal business plan to that point was always, I'm going to be a great personal trainer. I'm going to hire great personal trainers. We're going to do great personal training and it's going to be great. We had no capital, no marketing plan, no systems. I had no real leadership other than, hey guys, you're hired, go do a great job. So the next couple of years are what led me to the mastermind, started to surround me with some people that were doing things better than me. And it helped me build a better business. And it gave me the foundation, certainly, for doing the work that I do now.
I love that. And that is a long, because then you continued your fitness business until 2018 or?
Yeah, till 2018. Once 2012 rolled around, our business was just really growing and humming. We were adding clients, adding staff, growing revenue. And it was really a result of me becoming more of a leader and less of a trainer. And that's an ego shift for some. Around 2013 or 14, I made a decision. I said, I can't be the best trainer in this studio anymore. And quite honestly, maybe at that point I wasn't. But if the business is going to grow, it's got to become less about me and more about the team, more about the culture, the philosophy, the brand. My leadership style and even my presence in the facility started to change a little bit. So I started taking some Wednesdays off. I stopped working on Saturdays so that everything wasn't falling on me. I was married at the time. My wife and I worked together. So she did a great job with some systems and operations. But quite honestly, our team was fantastic. They were great trainers, great coaches. We empowered them. So my wife and I, we were able to take vacations. We were able to get away. It wasn't just about us. It really was about the business.
That's fantastic. That's everyone's dream, right? That's what we're all working for. So that chapter, being a trainer, business owner, what would you say your biggest lesson from that chapter was?
The best businesses always have the best people. And the biggest lesson that I learned, and I continue to bang this drum as a business coach, is you have to take care of your people. If you've got a problem in your business, ask your team. If marketing isn't working, speak to your team. If customer retention isn't going well, speak to your team. Because your team sees, hears, and senses things that as the leader, you're not privy to. So, great cliche, feedback is the breakfast of champions, but it's more than just a great cliche. It's a profound truth. What I started doing and the lesson I learned was my team meetings started to look very different. My old team meetings, and many people could relate to this, used to be me walking in with an itinerary of things that I wanted to talk about. Hey guys, these are the things that are bothering me that you need to be aware of, or these are the changes that you need to make, or this is what you need to know. And instead, I started going into those meetings with a blank sheet of paper and saying, hey guys, what do I need to know? What do I need to hear? What are the suggestions and the opinions that you have so that we can make our business better? I still may have some, I still may have had some items that I felt needed to be addressed, but I always made the lion's share of that meeting about what I needed to know. And then once I heard that, I could say, hey, I'm going to process all this, but these are some of the things I've been thinking about that I need to share with you. So I think that was probably the greatest lesson that I learned in my 20 years of business.
Do you miss being in the trenches at all?
Yeah, I do. I think about it a lot, especially as you alluded to, being an athlete and speaking with athletes, colleagues in competition. I miss the day-to-day dialogue, the laughter, the conversations. And at my core, I love helping people remain accountable to the items or the things that are important to them. And fitness is one of those things that most people do have fitness goals, but they've got bad plans, or they don't have enough action or momentum, and they lack the accountability. So I would not be surprised if back in that world on some level. But the one thing I will say, and I don't know if you're asking this question, I don't miss owning the studio as much as I loved it. As much it was, I have zero regrets with it. Like I said in 2013 or 14, I don't want the business to be primarily about me. I don't want to go down that road all over again. I want to be a great asset to a great organization and be a positive contributor to a larger culture.
Well, I think there's one thing that we both agree adamantly on, at least from listening to some of your other conversations on other podcasts, is the power and value of
Mm-hmm.
accountability. So I think there was one point where you had said, like, you can have all the tools, you can have all, but if you're not and you as a disciplined athlete can say that, I think it means a lot coming from someone like you, where, and I try to tell my people that I'm like, we all need accountability. It's not that there's something wrong with you. You're not lazy. We all need somebody to report to. I'm not handing it in if it's not due. Right. That's big. I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you've kind of come to be so bullish on accountability, and why you think it's so important.
Let's bring it back to fitness. The formula for fitness, the trifecta, is exercise, nutrition, and accountability. It doesn't matter how great the exercise program is if you don't do it. It doesn't matter how great the nutrition plan is if you don't do it. So without the accountability, the other two, they don't work. So yeah, it's an absolute requisite for success in fitness. But something you just alluded to, if it's open ended and there's not really a hard deadline or a day that it's got to get done by, it's very easy to procrastinate. And I think it's one of those things where um, pressure pressure is what enables things to get done. I use the imagery of like a fresh tube of toothpaste. You could take the cap off and let it sit there, nothing's going to happen. But you apply a little bit of pressure, and now you get what you want out of it. So, and this is a kid. Your mom or dad say your room better be clean when I get home at 5 o'clock. You don't 9 o'clock in the morning. You don't say, all right, let me get started right away. What you do is you look at your watch, you look at the clock, and go, oh shoot, it's 4:30, and you get more work done in 30 minutes than you got done all day. So having less time sometimes is actually the most effective way to get things done. And the reason why personal training or having appointments for fitness works so well is because it creates pressure, it adds that accountability, and you don't have the luxury of procrastination. It's one of the reasons why I won't go too down this rabbit hole. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of, I'm going to offend some people, I'm not a big fan of unlimited options or anytime you want. Unlimited means whenever you want, anytime. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have the same oomph as, oh, when are you going to come here? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 a.m. So come anytime. Stop by anytime. You tell your friends that, right? There's a big difference when you say to your friend, stop by anytime versus meet me at 7 o'clock. So again, I like I love the accountability because I recognize how important it is for meaningful things to get done.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I agree. And just to defend my studio and my people, we are unlimited and they can come anytime. However, the first thing I do when I get a new member is say that our most successful people have a schedule and we expect them at certain classes. And once you create your routine, you can play with it a little bit, but the first thing you want to do is establish a time and a place and get that routine
See,
down. So
you threw in the disclaimer. Without that disclaimer, unlimited, it's chaos.
okay, so Frank, one of the things that I want to talk to you about that I've heard you speak on that I think is really powerful is the core four. Can you tell our audience what that is and what it means?
Yeah, so this is something that I've evolved into over the last number of years, but essentially the core four are the four areas of your life that you need if you're going to thrive in life. And I want you to think about it almost like the legs of a stool. If any one of them are weakened, then the integrity of the entire thing comes down. So the core four are really your relationships. And I just don't mean a romantic relationship, could be family, friends, your social circle. If you don't have vibrant social relationships, your life is going to struggle, is going to suffer. Your health and fitness, you don't need to be a triathlete or a Tour de France athlete, but you need a certain amount of health and physical vibrancy, or else you're not going to thrive. Third is your career or your wealth, because you need a certain amount of financial vibrancy. And then the last piece, and I think that this is hard, especially for men, is happiness, mental health, or experiences. I usually just identify it as happiness because you might have people that they've got a great spouse, they've got good health, they've got a great job, but that's all they're focusing on. And their responsibilities and their attention is on everybody else, and they're neglecting themselves. Like, what are you doing for you? And it doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be like, what I'm going to go do for me is I'm going to go climb Kilimanjaro, or I'm going to go out into the wilderness. It might be as simple as, hey, 1 or 2 days a week, I'm going to go sit at my local coffee shop and just sit down and just enjoy my coffee as opposed to drinking coffee to go. I'm out here in San Diego. For me, one of the things that brings me joy is getting out to the beach, putting my feet in the sand, maybe catching the sunset, sitting outside, taking a phone call. So think little micro experiences. What can you do that's going to bring some joy to you? But here's why I think it's important and why I started coming up with this as I was coaching people. A lot of people would say, well, Frank, I really struggle with goal setting. I don't know how to set goals. Like, where do I begin? Like, what do I focus on? I say, really simple. Pick one goal to strengthen a relationship this week. Who's one person you can call or connect with? What is one thing you can do this week to improve your health or fitness? What is one thing you can do this week to improve your financial vibrancy on some level? Maybe it's follow up with a client. Maybe it's nurture a client, reactivate a former client, fire a client. Or like, what is something you could do this week? Is there a debt that you've been dangling with and playing with? Can you get rid of that? Or can you tweak your investments? And then finally, from an experience or happiness standpoint, what is one thing that's going to make you smile this week? Maybe it's not setting an alarm on Saturday morning. Maybe it's going out for breakfast. Maybe you're double dipping, but maybe it's going fishing with your son this weekend, going to the park with your daughter, or just spending some alone time. But if people could get into that little habit of setting a goal each week, each month, in each of those areas, over the course of a year, Kelly, they have a very different life. So the reason why I like the core four is because it's simple enough for people to understand, so that it's simple enough for people to take action on. And we spoke about this already. It doesn't matter how great the plan is if you don't do it. So I like the core four because it's a simple way of focusing on really what matters most in life.
Yeah, as I'm listening to you talk about that, it speaks to me, and I know when I get into a funk, what throws me the most, and I'm sure everybody's different, there's no right answer, but it's relationships. If I'm not being around the right people and I'm not having that being filled up by people, then that's when I kind of get a little off balance. That's when my stool starts wobbling. So it's good to know, and it is really, you have to be intentional. That's one that maybe the other things are just you're forced into them, say, but that's one that you probably have to be a little bit more intentional with. So
Yeah, and it's going to be different for everybody. Some people are natural at one and not so much the other. And you and I take for granted the fitness side of things, perhaps. For some people, they've got to be intentional. And it doesn't have to be complicated. As much as we were talking about earlier with longevity and athletics, it's like if you could just do one positive thing each week or maybe each day if it needs to be a bigger priority, and you keep that momentum and consistency, you're stacking a lot of wins.
it's so true. It doesn't have to be a big overhaul. Yeah, I totally agree. And we have a lot of those conversations, consistency, and it's so not, it doesn't make for great marketing material, but it's really the answer. So
This is a conversation for another day, but the truth just is, what if the ultimate differentiator between your service, your facility, your business, your philosophy is that you lean into that truth? Everybody else is out there trying to sell a hack. Everybody else is trying to sell the tougher workout, the more calories per hour, the better results. But the truth just is, what you're really getting with me is accountability to what matters to you. And everything else is just marketing fluff.
I'm there. I've made that. I mean, of course, we have great workouts too, but, but I do think and I tell people that, listen, just get here, just get yourself here. Don't worry about anything. Just get yourself in the door. If you can get in the door, we can check the boxes that you need to check. And you just have to get here. So yes. And that's one of the reasons why I love what our industry or the fitness industry or exercising in an environment where other people are involved, because I feel like it does check multiple boxes as far as your health and your social.
Yep.
Potentially. At least for me. I love seeing people. I look forward to seeing people more than I look forward to the workout. Okay, Frank, another question that I wanted to ask you is your top health and performance tips. I mean, you've definitely mentioned consistency and staying in shape and not being overweight and being moderate. I love moderate. I don't think clients like to think that they have a trainer or a coach that's going to tell them they have to give up everything that they love. And I always say, I'm not willing to do that. So I would never ask you to do that. What would be your biggest performance tips?
Before you get into performance, you have to make sure that you have health. So there's health, fitness, and performance. So you start with health and get your annual physicals, monitor your blood work, make sure that if you've got cholesterol or any kind of health issue going on, you're tackling that first. Then make sure that you're getting in some cardio, you're getting in some strength, you're working on some flexibility, you're not gaining weight if you don't want to, and you're not losing weight if you don't want to, that you're staying in that range. For me, my performance or fitness routine is obnoxiously simple. I feel it is based off of what I see on other people doing. Like, I'm not cold plunging and waking up at 4 a.m. and drinking alkaline water, but without putting your audience to sleep, I put some collagen in my coffee in the morning. I'm not a vegan, but I use a vegan superfood shake in the afternoon with some more collagen, a little bit of creatine, some frozen fruits and some ice and almond milk. I eat protein or veggies with most of my meals. I take some magnesium glycinate and a fish oil before bed. I probably don't drink enough water. According to most people, I probably don't even eat as much as I should, but I eat when I'm hungry. It's like I have a hard time eating if I'm not hungry. Fortunately, when I'm hungry, I eat a lot of food. But when I'm not, like, I'm not one of these guys that every 3 or 4 hours is microwaving something. Like, I'm full. So I think that that's a good thing. So I think that, again, it really depends on what moves you. I will say this: I feel as good as I felt in the last 25, 30 years. Humbly, I'm happy with the way I look and the way I perform. Aside, I'm in a triathlon mode right now. So I swim, I bike, I run. I do each of those about 3 times a week. But I still strength train a little bit 2 or 3 days a week. But my strength training is so basic, so simple. I do I do push-ups, pull-ups, and body weighted squats. That's it. Now, some people would be like, that's not like it works for me. When you're doing all that other stuff, the idea of getting in my car and driving to the gym and checking in and warming up and getting my workout and back. So it's got to work for you. And again, it comes back to intuitive training and intuitive living. And do you like the way you look? Do you like the way you feel? The one thing, and I mentioned this earlier, the biggest change I've made in my life, fitness and health wise, over the last 5 years or so, maybe even 6 or 7 since I've been in San Diego, is really being intentional with my sleep, measuring my sleep, getting a sleep score every night. And I was one of those guys. A lot of people in the fitness space can relate to this, where you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning because you got 5:30, 6 a.m. clients, and then you're getting home and you don't want to go to bed even though you're tired because you feel like you've been at work all day. You got to unwind. And I used to say, "Oh, I can get by with 6 or 7 hours of sleep." But even the language right there, you can get by with 6 or 7. I don't want to get by. I want to thrive. I want to feel good. So I easily get 7, 8+ hours of sleep a night. And it probably took me a handful of years living out here to make up for the 20 to 30 year sleep deficit I created for myself back in New Jersey. So long-winded answer, but the ultimate fitness and health hack is focus on sleep, focus on daily movement. I'll tell you this, I would rather see anybody get 10,000 steps in a day every day than get a great workout in the gym 3 or 4 days a week. People could argue with me on that, and that's okay. I'm not trying to sell a book. But if everybody got 10,000 steps in a day, everybody, more people would be better. So fitness should be simple. And if you find the thing that you enjoy, then that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah. I do want you to, if you're okay with it, Frank, I do want you to talk a little bit about your when you didn't have your health.
So I've always been pretty diligent with getting blood work every year or two. And in 2014, I was training for a half Ironman race, felt pretty good, and just went for my annual physical. I was battling some intermittent laryngitis for months, though. They couldn't really figure out what was going on, but I figured people have been telling me since I'm a kid that I talk too much. So between that and coaching and speaking and being a personal trainer, I just figured it was laryngitis. But I went for my annual physical and my blood work came back great. And I always was very competitive with my blood work. And my doctor said, "Hey, your blood work looks great, except there's one thing." He said, "Your TSH level is slightly elevated. Normal range is like 3.0 to 3.5, 4.5. I was like a 4.6. He goes, "It's probably nothing. Go see an endocrinologist." Well, I'm like, "Oh, that's the one thing that's not the A on the report card. I got to get right on that." So appointment, endocrinologist. I was there 2 weeks later. And she said, "It's probably nothing. Have you gained weight? No. Lost weight? No. Depressed? Never. Your skin's not clammy. You look fine." She says, "Let me do an ultrasound." She did an ultrasound. And I sat up and she said to me, she said, "You have some really dark nodules on your thyroid. It looks cancerous." She said, "I want to do a biopsy." So I said, "Okay, when do we do that?" She's like, "Right now." So then she did a biopsy on me. Several days later, it was Good Friday, 2014. I get a phone call and she says, "Frank, this is Dr. Margulies. Your biopsy results came back. You have thyroid cancer. It looked like it's spread." She goes, "You need to prepare for surgery." And it's just my jaw dropped. Because in anybody who's ever gotten a diagnosis or heard those words, your first instinct is like, what happens next? Like, do I have surgery next week, next month? Like, is this fatal? Like, where do I go? What's the recovery? You have a million questions. And to them, it's just another phone call. So we interviewed a couple of surgeons. July 2nd, 2014, I had a 5 or 6 hour thyroidectomy. They removed my entire thyroid, a bunch of cancerous lymph nodes, shaved away. I had a cancerous tumor on my vocal cord that they were able to cut away most of it, but they still needed to leave a little bit because if they would have tried to get it, they would have nicked the vocal cord. So they did a beautiful job. I had some radiation therapy and they over medicated. I'm going way long on this, but they over medicated me for really the next 10 years to make sure that the tumor that remained did not regenerate. What was interesting with that, and it maybe plays into my performance the last year, is when you're over medicated on Synthroid, it it burns out your adrenals a little bit. So even though I wasn't tired, you would fatigue a little faster in heat and endurance. It's not an optimal combination. It's kind of like, if you will, like too much caffeine. It's a performance aid, but it's also too much is going to be a detriment in certain at a certain point. It was really only in the last year that they started to wean my dosage down because I passed that 10-year mark where they felt I was low risk now. And the point of all of this was I had the best outcome, I had the best recovery, and I feel amazing. But it wasn't a lifestyle thing that caused that. And how many people are ignorant and say, I don't feel bad, so I don't go to the doctors. And I felt amazing. I felt amazing. But because I went to the doctors diligently, I was able to catch it early and therefore have the best outcome possible. So look, my diagnosis and my recovery was as good as it could have been. But I also put myself in a position to be successful in that regard by not being too far behind the eight ball on that.
Absolutely. And there's so many things. I mean, just that blood work being off a little bit, I'm not really concerned, but like that's where but then yeah, but you were literally, if you didn't have that laryngitis, then this outcome could have been totally different. I just think it's so important to stay on top of everything, especially now. I mean, you really
mention it. Core four.
Yeah.
Core four. It's relationships, your health, your career, and your happiness. And so you have to make sure that every day, every week, you're putting yourself in a position to be optimal in each of those areas.
For sure. And let's not forget the fact that being in great health probably had an impact on your recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was for 1 year, they took my thyroid out, and within 3 months, I gained 15
I was
pounds.
going to say, is that why you aren't hungry naturally? But
No, well, that's no, it's like totally different thing. But they take your thyroid out for people that say I have a thyroid and metabolic issues. Well, I did. I didn't have one. They needed to dial my dosage of my Synthroid up progressively. So it's like they had me on 75, then 100, then 125, and 150, 175, and so within like seemingly overnight, I gained weight because I wasn't working out and my metabolism just crashed. And then 1 year after the surgery, things just kind of clicked again. Like I started to feel okay. So then I started training, and then a year later I got back into some racing, and but it took a whole year for my energy to get good. It took a year for them to kind of dial in, get me in the right spot. And but again, great prognosis. I had great outcome, and to be honest, I've spoken about this before. I had the most incredible support service I could have had. My wife at the time, complete rock star. From the day after surgery, bringing me my pound cake that I went into surgery craving. And so she took that road with me for the first year or so. But I think that that's a great reminder in life. Again, relationships, your health, your career, you need great people around you. You need great people around you. You show me somebody that doesn't have great relationships or a great support system, I'll show you somebody who's going to struggle in one of those core four areas. They're integral. We're integral beings, and you need all of them to be connected in some way and to be supported.
well, thank you for sharing that, Frank, because I think it's easy to see someone that's an athlete and it feels like this guy's dialed in, he's doing all the right things, but you there's been some bumps in the road, but it haven't stopped you. And I love that. Those are my stories. Those are the stories that light me up.
Yeah, and listen, and there always will be, but it always comes it always comes back to dealing with where you're at without taking your eyes off of where you want to go. There's always
Yeah.
going to be a bump in the road. There's always going to be an obstacle. But having clear goals and a clear path, that's helped me both in athletics and business and certainly in life.
What is one myth about fitness, business, or aging that you wish everyone would challenge or rethink?
In fitness, I think the myth is that it requires a lot of time and a lot of complication. I think less is more. I like I said earlier, I would rather see somebody go out and walk 10,000 steps every day than tell them you've got to get to the gym 3 days a week. You got to focus on pushing, pulling, squatting, hinging, mobility work, high intensity interval training. I just go walk 10,000 steps a day. Um, I think same thing nutrition wise. Sure. Do macros matter? Absolutely. Does nutrition matter? Absolutely. Drink more water, consume mostly protein, try to consume fruits and vegetables. Yeah. Try to consume some fruits and vegetables a couple of times a day. And if you just did those things, you almost can't screw it up. Drink more water, eat more protein, consume fruits and vegetables a couple of times a day. If you got those down, you almost can't screw the rest up. So I think fitness, I think the myth is that it's complicated. It's kind of simple. I think in the second thing you mentioned was business. I think the myth in business is that people that are successful they're either lucky, they're unethical, or they're just gifted in some way. And I think that success in business comes from doing the little unsexy things with greater consistency than most people are willing to do. And people have the willingness to make themselves look foolish and maybe be uncomfortable for a while. They're willing to endure the lessons that need to be learned. Everybody wants to start off and be a success immediately. You have to be willing to suffer some setbacks. So I think the myth is that it's luck, and the reality is I think there's an incredible amount of risk and humility. And what was the third one that you asked? Was it life?
Aging.
Aging. The
You
myth
could have
for
picked one.
aging.
But I like that you're dotting your eyes.
Well,
That's
now I'm going 3 for 3. I'll tell you what I think the myth for aging is, and I think with humility, I think I'm living this. I think the myth is that at a certain age you slow down. Um, when I was 50, when my grandparents were 55, staring down the barrel of 56, they were old. They were old. They weren't out there doing triathlons and running marathons and doing interval runs and things like that. They were old. Different time. I get it was a different time, but I think the aging myth is being blown up every day because I think people recognize that yeah, age is really just a number. So I think that getting older is no excuse for slowing down. Again, you don't need to do triathlons, but I think you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I think you need to challenge yourself physically and mentally. And I think that's the ultimate anti-aging hack is keep a young heart and keep a young mindset.
so good. I like that a lot. I like that. Kind of goes back to where you started. Okay, one more question, Frank. So the name of this podcast is Start Before You're Ready. Can you think of a time in your life when you started before you were ready?
Oh wow, that's a whole nother podcast. When I opened fitness, well, when I when I quit my job to be a freelance trainer, I started before I was ready. When I opened my studio, I started before I was ready. When I moved out to San Diego, I was recently divorced, sold my business, sold my house, started before I was ready. Um, and I think every day we're all kind of starting before we're ready. The fact is that I don't want to sound morbid here, but none of us are promised tomorrow or the next week or the next month. But you got to get up every day and go out there and do what you said you were going to do. And you're not ready for whatever's going to happen. But success in life doesn't mean that you're always living life according to a plan. I think success in life comes to, I'm going to deal with whatever hand I get dealt with today and this week and this month. So I think starting before you're ready is an everyday occurrence if you're living life really fully.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Okay. This just came to me. I know I said that was the last question,
No, it's
but
okay.
I want a Frankism. We've gotten some, but I want one. I just want the one that you want to leave our audience with.
It's not a Frankism. It's not a Frankism, but we'll end on this quote. In life or business, not all change is progress, but there could be no progress without change. So the Frankism would say, like, what? Fear the change. Here's the Frankism. Fear the change and do it anyway. Fear the change and do it anyway.
So good. So good, Frank. It's been so fun to talk to you and hear more about you. I've gotten to learn. I thought I knew you, but gosh, Frank, you got a lot. There was some great things that I uncovered in doing a little bit of Frank research, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoy you as a coach and as a mentor, and I appreciate what you do for other people. You definitely have a servant heart. You definitely love helping people. I know anytime I've ever asked you for anything, it's not in the next day or 2 days, it's immediate. And it's always followed up by, if you ever need me, I'm here. And that means a lot. I know there's a lot of people that's exactly what they need in this world right now. They need someone that's going to be there for them. That's like that phone call that they can make or that text or whatever it is. So I just want to acknowledge you for that and thank you for that. And thank you for being on my podcast today. It was the same answer when I asked you last week. You're like, anything you need, Kelly, anything I can do to support you. So I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thank you for all that you're doing as well, Kelly.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.